I'm Dave Tosh, Executive Director, Wenatchee Valley Senior Activity Center, and today I'm with Jim Telford, one of our senior members, and we have become good friends over the past, about 10 years or so. We're in the same Rotary Club, East Wenatchee Rotary, and I've been able to learn quite a bit about Jim and his past here in the Valley.
What I do want to tell you is a little bit about my being born in Opine, Montana, and I was number 12 of 13 children, and one day there was a funeral coach went by our house, and I said to my mother, Mom, that's one thing I'd like to do sometime, is to drive the funeral coach or ride in it. And consequently, my mother said, Jim, you shouldn't wish for things like that, because those wishes can come true. And I was 6 years old at the time. And consequently, we moved from Opine to Washington, and we landed in Plain, Washington. I went to a grade school there. From there, it was high school. I graduated in 1954, and that year, the Wenatchee High School royalty for Apple Blossom Festival made a trip to Leavenworth and invited us to come to Wenatchee for the festival. And what I remembered most about the three young ladies that were royalty for the Apple Blossom Festival, what I remember the most was the brunette, the third member of the royalty, and I don't know, it just, her stature and her beauty, her dark brown hair, and she was from Wenatchee, and I had it in my mind that I wanted to marry a Wenatchee girl. Lo and behold, in 1963, she had gone to college, but she came back to Wenatchee in '63, and I needed a date for the New Year's Eve dance and dinner. And I was asked if I would like to have a date with Corinne Bellis. And I said, heck yeah, I'd take a date with her any day of the week. Well, do you know her? And I said, no, never met the lady. Well, then what makes you think you want to have a date with her? And I said, well, I can tell you this. She was the shortest one of the three royalty that visited Leavenworth in 1954. 64, excuse me. 54, when I met her, or at least
10 years later, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And so then 63 was when she came back to Wenatchee, and I got a date with her for that night of the Christmas, New Year's Eve dinner and dance. And my first dance with her was a fast dance. And I think I surprised her because we both were dancing the same step. And she, after the dance was over, she said, "Wow, you're a good dancer." "You dance just like Happy Jack." And I said, "Well, who's Happy Jack?" "Well, he was one of my high school friends that every time we would have a dance and they'd play a fast dance, Happy Jack and I always danced that fast dance together." So that was an in for me with her, and consequently I started dating her, and third month came along and I asked her to marry me. And she said, "You're rocking the boat." I said, "What do you mean I'm rocking the boat?" "Well, you're pushing me, and I need time to think." Well, I have to tell you this part of this story because my brother, my sister and her fiance got married in April, and we were invited to the wedding. We went to the wedding, and then we went back to her house. She wanted to change clothes and wanted me to go with her downtown shopping. So we did that, but before we left the house, I was standing there in her kitchen doorway, and she came up to me and she took my hand and turned it upside down like this so she could see my ring. And she said to me, "You know, that diamond in that black onyx would really make a beautiful engagement ring." And I said, "What?" She said, "That would really make a beautiful engagement ring." And I said, "For gosh sakes, let's run down to Buttons and get that engagement ring for you before you change your mind." So as it was, she asked me, and I said, "Yes, by all means."
Now, Jim, as a longtime business owner in the community and being in the funeral business, I know that you started out with Jones and Jones, and I think you told me that that's when you got married, and then at some point you broke off from that. I think you got your license, and then you started your own business. You want to talk a little bit about some of those early days with your business?
Yeah, can I first say that I did marry Corinne in August of 1964, and it was a marriage that was made in heaven. At any rate, I did go to work for, I was working for Jones and Jones when I got married. And in fact, one of the owners of the funeral home told me one day we had invited our crew from Jones and Jones up to our house for a reception for our getting married, and Corinne used our not stainless, it was silver.
Sterling silver.
Equipment to serve a beautiful marriage reception. And one of the directors from Jones & Jones said to us, if you ever find out that you need some extra money, you can sell that sterling silver. You can make a lot of money with that. Well, we were taken back by that remark. At any rate, I had asked the manager of Jones & Jones for a raise in pay because I'd gotten married, I had 2 children, and I hadn't had a raise in pay during that period of time. And so I asked for a raise in pay, and I was told I didn't deserve a raise in pay. Now, I knew the extra hours that I put in, and I really felt that I deserved a raise in pay. And so when I was told I didn't deserve a raise in pay, I went up to the bookkeeper and I told the bookkeeper, I just want you to be the first to know I am not going to be here in the summertime. They always needed extra help in the summertime because the working crew had to have vacations. Well, anyway, summer came around, and I went over to East Wenatchee and approached the funeral director there that owned a business called Chapel of the Valley, and I made short story of it because I bought the business from him and renamed the business Telford's Chapel of the Valley. And when I bought the business was only doing about 40 services a year, and Corinne and I grew the business to 240 services a year. And at that point in my life, my doctor, Dr. Gill, told me, Jim, you need to retire. You've had 2 herniated discs, and it's time for you to retire, or if you have another herniated disc, you could spend the rest of your life in a wheelchair. And I said, Doctor, you've said enough. I get the picture. And so I sold my business to the 2 young guys that worked for me. And however, I had been involved in funeral service for 40 years before I retired. And I felt that 40 years was plenty.
But then you couldn't sit and rest at home. You got involved in the community even more, I believe. I don't know what all the time frames were, but you were Director General for the Apple Blossom Festival. I think that was in the early 80s. And then later on the Chancellor, heavily involved with the Applearians over the years. And I think before you retired, you were involved with the Chamber quite a bit. And I think you were president of the Chamber of Commerce in East Wenatchee, and you've got a lot of history there. You want to take a few minutes and brag about some of the things you've done?
Well, you're right. I did become president of the East Wenatchee Chamber of Commerce, and I fulfilled my first year, and they said, well, you did a good job, why don't you take it for another year? So I served the second year as director, as president of the Chamber of Commerce. And during that time, I was awarded with the Citizen of the Year award, and that was a pretty nice honor to have bestowed upon me. And from there, I went to become a member of the Chamber of Commerce Board of Wenatchee. And I was in line to become president of the Wenatchee Chamber of Commerce. And that kept me busy. However, I dropped out as far as being president was concerned because I had a little argument with with the manager of the Chamber of Commerce. And from there, I got asked to be the Director General of the festival in 1983. And it was all because there had been 3 years of argument between the Chamber and the festival. And they needed somebody to bring the two of them back together. And so that became my job. And it was a simple thing. I had served on the festival board 10 years prior to that time, and it worked just fine as the festival and the chamber worked very well together. And consequently, I said that I had no intentions of separating the festival from the chamber, or the chamber from the festival. And everything turned out well for that year. And I got a nice write-up in the Wenatchee World by Wilfred Woods. And Wilfred gave me an okay job. He said it was the best festival that we'd had in several years. And I was so thankful for that remark.
You want to just talk a little bit about your involvement with the Elder Speak?
Elder Speak is a way of elders explaining to the young generation, and this was all about taking place up at Leavenworth. And we have there's a group of foursome of ladies that take care of the questions to us to answer for our stories to the younger generation of Leavenworth. And it's quite an interesting thing. I would never have traced my life back from the time I was born. I would never have done that. And I can honestly say it's been an interesting thing to do. They give us new questions each month. And we started last year in September, so we're just finishing up a year of Elder Speak. And it's been nothing but a very interesting project. And I would recommend it to, if you're asked to be a member of Elder Speak, it's very interesting to go back and trace your early life, and it's all about how did we become successful in our individual businesses, and so how did I become successful? And I felt I was successful, but to me it was a matter of how you handle yourself. There's a good way and a bad way. Well, I like the good way, and I always tried to be friendly to anybody that I met. I try to never know a stranger. But it's just a wonderful way to get to know more people, more visitations with more people. I did get a lot of calls from people that just needed to sit down with somebody and visit. And I became counselor. I was counselor to a fellow that worked for me, and he had a wife that was sick in bed. She was handicapped, and he asked me what I thought about him going out with another lady, even with his wife being ill. And I said, that's a tough question to answer. And I said, you have to. I would suggest you have a prayer for yourself and find your answer there. I said, myself, I don't see any problem with it, but maybe you do, maybe you don't. But it's one of those things you have to answer for yourself.
Well, I know that there was a nice article written by Rufus Woods in the Wenatchee World here just recently about the elder speak, and he touched on each of the individuals, and yours was very interesting to read. You haven't even talked about some of those items, but I think that obviously there's a lot of personal satisfaction and reward in participating in something like this. It's a worthwhile endeavor. The Ripple Foundation here in Wenatchee supports the Elder Speak, and they put a lot of time and effort into it. And I think it's good for everyone to kind of reflect and see, how other people have gone through their lives and the success they've had. That I think it's a positive thing. Yeah. Well, Jim, I want to thank you for spending some time with us today. We had a Rotary meeting this morning, and I told you it might be a long morning because I wanted to sit down and chat with you. The Senior Center is really trying to do some really quality videos to provide some broadcast through our local TV station, and you're our first one that we've actually sat down and interviewed because I don't know. I'm comfortable talking to you, and I knew quite a bit about you, and I think it's a good start to what we're trying to do. We'll be interviewing other seniors as we go, and they've got their own interesting stories to tell. But every week we meet at Rotary, that we're there together. I get another little bit of a story about Jim Telford and his past, and I really enjoy that kind of thing, and that's part of the reason why I've stayed as director of the Senior Center for 7 years, is because I enjoy that, involvement with the seniors and interacting with the seniors, just communicating with them. I learn a lot myself. So
Well,
thank you.
you did a good job. I've learned something about myself that you told me.
Okay, all right.